What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 46 of the Yard Podcast. I'm your host, Randy.
And I'm your host, Konu.
And we are here with our producer, Ray, as always. Kind of got a lot, not so much to talk about. Spring training's so weird to try to figure out what to talk about, what's important to talk about, because everything seems important, but nothing seems important. It's a very strange feeling depending on how you care about these things. But first things first, we've got tonight's game. Jimmy Nelson is on the mound against the Reds at 5:05 p.m. We have no idea what the lineup is. If we get it during, we will let you guys know, even though I'm sure you all know by the time you listen to this. So let's get into this very quickly. Our injury updates. Bellinger has started. He is taking BP, but he has yet to hit against live pitching. On Sunday, he played 3 defensive innings in a backfield game against the White Sox. Roberts and Bellinger are still on the same page that he is expected to return to games around March 15th. So sometime probably next week, beginning of next week, we should see Belli out there. So cannot wait for that. Joe Kelly, like I said last week, it just seems to continue. He's been throwing in bullpen sessions and working on a throwing program, but Robert said he is still ways away from being ready. And we're not even entirely sure if he's going to be ready for opening day. So there might be some bullpen spots opening up, which might actually be a positive thing. No offense to Kelly, but we might have some arms in there that are more than deserving to finally get some time. Mitchell White is kind of really the last one. He is still building up in a throwing program after showing up to Camp Soar. Don't really know much about what is going on there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I haven't heard anything. They've kept that very quiet.
Yeah, all I know is last I saw is they're still building up a throwing program. So no idea what's going on there. Might be a reason why they're being quiet about it. Who knows? Spring training, there's so many players to focus on. They may feel like it's not important enough to talk about. But we do want to get into some of the things we've seen in games over the last week. And of course, we saw Clayton Kershaw make his first start of spring on Friday against the Royals. He went 2 innings, giving up 2 hits, 0 runs, and struck out 2 with one of those coming on his slider. We saw him mix in all of his pitches, and he threw a 3rd inning of work in the bullpen after his start. Don't know when his next start is going, but it felt so good to see Kershaw out on the mound. It seemed like he had some of his stuff
hopefully 5
working.
days from last, hopefully.
Yeah.
So we can start getting on a schedule.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's it. I don't feel like doing the math. I like to use the MLB app because the way this team works, you never know who you're going to get.
That's
but it
true,
should be about 5 days, which would put us, I would say, tomorrow's game. But the schedule doesn't say tomorrow or Thursday. Schedule doesn't say anything yet. I loved seeing Kershaw out there. I thought he looked pretty decent. Had some of his pitches working for him. Didn't seem too frustrated by anything, which is always a good sign. What did you see from him?
I guess interesting enough, I forgot where I read it. It might have been Blake Harris or someone else, but they had mentioned that Kershaw told reporters that he had threw a changeup in that outing, and he only threw like 2 or 3 last year. So I think I feel like the changeup something he's been working on for like 10 years now.
And he did get a ground out on it. So the guy swung at it, so he did get a ground out on the changeup. So.
Yeah, but I thought it was fine for his first outing. I thought he gave up pretty hard contact, but of course he managed to get out of it because of I think it was Turner playing good defense. Again, it was his first start, so I'm not really gonna look too deep into it. But for the most part, I thought his slider was looking really good. He made Salvador look really dumb swinging at the slider. So it was nice to see. Well, I think the slider is pretty much his best pitch, if we're being honest. So it was glad to see him. He had it working early on.
He gets his swings and misses on those, and it's always fun to watch. But yeah, I mean, like you said, kind of the most important thing is you don't really want to read into it. It's just a complicated part of being a fan. You want to look into guys doing really good and go, oh wow, he's coming out looking hot. But then you're kind of like, well, at the same time, what's that say about the players he's facing? Like maybe they're working on.
Did he throw any curves? I can't recall him throwing.
I think he did. He mixed in all. They said he mixed in all of his pitches. I think I saw like a couple of them. Yeah, these spring training games are tough because you've got to keep up with like 6 or 7 pitchers every game. And some of them you've never seen before, so you're watching things differently. So it's a little.
Whereas in a regular season game, you probably have to keep up with 3 or 4.
Yeah. So I don't. It also doesn't help that in the MLB at Bat app, like someone like myself who doesn't no pitch. I understand it a tiny bit. I could figure it out if I need to, like off speed, breaking ball, whatever. But it is very helpful when the MLB at Bat app actually tells you velocity, what pitch it is, because it helps people like myself kind of track what's going on, see how he's doing. Baseball Savant's been a little behind with that kind of stuff. So I'm waiting for the regular season because that stuff's helpful.
Has been off.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's not working for
it really
games.
sucks because I'm like, well, you guys had it fantastic during the playoffs. What happened? Like, can't we just hook up?
Maybe it's spring training, so they don't care too much. Yeah.
Well, and I'm wondering if the facilities don't have the same hookups because they're so much smaller.
That's
Maybe
true,
they don't have the same stuff running through there. But yeah.
I imagine when the season starts, we'll be back to a normal though.
They did say they updated it, some of it today. So they did add some of the exit velocity. They're working on it. But yeah, so Kershaw's outings, we'll see when his next one is, but he looked all right. Kind of looked like himself, I feel like, in their spring training. Kenley Jansen, after having almost that immaculate inning, his first time out in a live BP session on Thursday, he quote unquote, his mechanics were out of whack and he hit Zach Rex on the elbow. Rex is fine. We saw Rex show up in a game after he got hit in the elbow, so nothing to worry about there. And Jansen appeared in a game on Sunday, which leads me to assume he figured out his mechanic issue for the most part, or at least comfortable enough to figure it out in a game, because he looked decent, if I'm remembering correctly. He pitched one inning, gave up one hit, threw 12 pitches that outing, 7 for strikes, and he was sitting between 89 and 90 miles per hour, hit 91 once. His cut like, I don't know. It
was okay. I was gonna say that with his out of whack comment, when he showed up in the game, his mechanics were not out of whack. They've actually been really good because he's been throwing strikes like pretty easily as well. Obviously, velocity is a different subject, but as long as he's got good movement, I think he should be able to get by like Mariano Rivera did later on in his career. I can't recall, but I feel like his movement was good enough to where he wasn't giving up hard contact. That's a good sign. You mentioned he only gave up one hit, which is also a good sign because, but then again, he was really good last spring training too. And then the season kind of just, fell apart. So it's like a wait and see.
It's weird though, because Joe Davis mentioned this a while back, and I think I mentioned it on the podcast at one point, like he had the lowest hard hit rate against him in 2020. So I think with him, what I liked a lot was his command was on point, which, like you said, is going to be very important. If you don't have the velocity, your command and your stuff better be working pretty well. Otherwise, hitting 89.
Dallas Keuchel has gotten by for so long.
Yeah, but hitting 89, 90 miles per hour, granted, still early in spring, don't need to focus on it too much. It's still something that you're kind of like, okay, I'm going to keep my eye on this. But hey, if you hit your spots and don't make many mistakes, we might be able to get away with it. Maybe not as a closer. I don't know how long you're getting away with a closer who's throwing 90, 91, 92, but we'll have to see what the Dodgers do there. But speaking of pitching mechanics, we saw some goofy stuff from Trevor Bauer in his start on Saturday against the Padres. And I mean, hey, he got the job done, so I guess we can't complain. But I found it funny and reading up a little bit on it, why he does it, his thought behind it. And for those of you who don't care enough to look into it, I'm still going to tell you what he said. But Bauer said, I figured if they can't score off me with one eye open, it's going to be difficult to score off with me 2 eyes open, just having a little bit of fun. I challenged myself today too. I like making myself uncomfortable and throwing different stuff my way and trying to find a solution for it. I think that's how you improve, find a way to make yourself uncomfortable, get comfortable with it, and do it again. So the first inning was a little rough for him, but he went 3 scoreless innings, he was able to escape the trouble when he got into it, struck out a few guys with one eye closed. However, what I found interesting, because we didn't really hear much about it, I had to read it out of an article, is at first I kind of thought Bauer's just being Bauer. He's being kind of goofy, doing whatever it is like that he wants to do. But they actually really is truly a method behind this. And he said he trains with one eye closed during the off season in order to improve his command on his pitches, that closing one eye takes away some depth perception, making it even more important for him to zone in on specific location. That actually makes a ton of sense to me. I don't know about you. I get where he's coming from.
It's clear he's a troll, and like we mentioned before we even signed him, how he's like this mad scientist who does all these things. There's a method to like his madness. Um, but yeah, I mean, he loves to troll, and I feel like he's going to troll the Padres all year long. He started trolling Manny Machado earlier that day he pitched, and then he just continued it on the mound. Like you mentioned, the first thing was a little rough. He was struggling with his command, kind of reminiscent of his outing against the Rockies. But um, funny enough, he actually pitched better with his eye closed in that inning.
Yeah, he did.
He's a character, that's for sure. And again, his breaking ball was just simply on point again this outing. So he seems to be in a really good place with that, and I think that's very important. Also, I think I saw he hit 97 on the gun during that game. So I mean, that's pretty cool and fun, considering he hit like 94 last year, was like his top. So
well, they said he hit 97 once in 2020. Okay. So the fact he's hitting it now is a good sign. That's the kind of stuff that honestly I'm very curious to see how it goes in 2021 with guys like Buehler, guys who we saw didn't take much of a break off because it was such a shortened season. Like we'll talk about Price in a little bit, but Price saw a jump in his velocity. I mean, we don't know what he did in his offseason for work, but if he got even an earlier start than usual because he didn't play in 2020, I'm curious as to what those benefits may be for the guys on the mound. And Bauer is one of them. I mean, I think you hit it kind of a nail on the head about the whole mad scientist thing. It's kind of just what he does. He tries different things. And honestly, if it works, I don't care what he does. Yeah. It's spring training. Go out there and do whatever you want. I think it's weird. I think it's odd, but I kind of feel like we know that about every pitcher. Pitchers are just weird and odd. They do weird shit.
I was going to say, because you had brought up how he tries to help with his command earlier. He doesn't use a catcher. He just sets up a tee and puts a ball on like different like measures of tees, and then tries to hit the ball. And he said the walking back and forth can, kind of be like whatever, but when you hit that ball, the walk back and forth feels good. So, he does a lot of odd things, but if it works, it works. I don't know when he's been started all this, but he's been pretty good the last few years. So let's hope that continues.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like the Dodgers are paying him $40 million. I would prefer like him to not come out and be asked. So I don't really care what weird method he has to go through. If it's working on the mound, go for it.
We all know how we feel about his personality, but the fact that he does so much and tries so hard to improve himself, I think that's admirable.
It is a nice feeling. That. Yeah, it is. As a fan, it's nice to see that you have someone on your team who cares that much, because a lot of times, even though this is 100% false, a lot of times there's like this misconception between fans, like, oh, the players just don't care. They don't care. Like, why do we care more about these wins and losses than they do? And it's like, no, they just can't hold on to these wins and losses like fans are able to. It's different for them. They have to move on. So it's nice as a fan to have a guy on your team that cares as much as Trevor Bauer does, that he doesn't even care like how he looks. He's like, hey, if this helps me get better, that's what I'm going to do for the team, and I respect it. So we'll see what happens. I don't think that's going to be the end of the weird shit we see Trevor Bauer do on the mound. So at some point, I would not be surprised to see him do something really weird and try and strike a guy out with both eyes closed. So I'll be waiting for that time.
If it's during spring training, by all means have a blast. But during the season, please don't do that.
Yeah, because it might not work out very well, and then nobody will ever live it down, the fan base and Bauer included. I do want to touch on something because I feel like I don't talk about this enough, and unfortunately there was no sarcasm in my voice, but I'm being totally sarcastic. But it is time for everybody to hop on the Gavin Lux hype train. I have been on it. You have been very shy about it. You said you would no longer be shy about it. So we are going all in on Gavin Lux. Nope, we are going all in on Gavin Lux. That's going to be our guy. We need someone needs to do it. More of the fan base seems to be coming around. I mean, in 11 at bats. The guy's hitting 455. He's only picked up 2 RBIs. No big deal, though. Picked up his first extra base hit on Sunday with a double to the left center gap. His OPS is currently sitting at 1,000. No one on the team has a better batting average than Matt Beatty. At the end of the day, spring training stats don't count and don't mean much, but it is very nice to see after his 2020 season, and I cannot wait to see him continue.
I've been very happy with how he's looked at the plate and his defense as well. He seems to be in a really good place. His timing is there. He's putting the ball in play. He could easily have 6 hits like Matt Beatty does, but the second baseman for the Rangers made a diving play, which was very nice. What I'm looking for now is for him to start driving the ball, kind of like he did on his double. I think that would be the next step. I'm also looking for how he reacts or responds to when things aren't going well and when he does struggle, because I mean everybody struggles. So that is like the main thing I'm looking for. Does he get down on himself, or does he remain where he's at now? Because if he remains where he's at now, then he should be able to get out of the slump pretty easily. I am going to pump the brakes a little bit just because it is spring training. We've seen players have bad spring trainings and then be great during the regular season. We've seen players have great spring trainings and then bad during the season. Hello, Kike. So I'm just going to be cautiously optimistic, but it has been very nice and fun to watch for sure, because I have been backing him for a long time.
Yeah, I'm going to still go all in because I don't care, because spring training has been pretty boring for the most part, just because spring training usually is. So it gives me some excitement to look forward to every single night. But yeah, I think I agree. Confidence kind of going to be the biggest thing for him. We saw him talking to Kirsten. I think it was yesterday. I can't remember what day that was.
Oh, I missed that. What happened?
It was either yesterday. No, I think it must have been on Sunday then, because I think we talked about it. He just seems happy. He seems content. He seems like he's enjoying himself out there, which is the most important thing, even if he's not getting a hit. At the end of the day, I think both of us have always talked about that it seems very mental with Gavin Lux. So
baseball's a very mental game to begin with.
Yeah. So if he's happy, confident, and feeling good when he goes out there, I think his skill set has shown us more than enough that he can handle these slumps. I think with his bat, it's just going to all be a mental game for him. So I'm excited for him. The young guys have been doing it. Another young guy who's probably not even going to see time at the big league team at all. Maybe come September, if the Dodgers get bored and they decide they want to bring on, actually, the roster. I don't even know how that works. Actually, no. Do we even? The rules have changed so much in this whole roster 2020 season. I'm so confused at this point about how many people get called up anymore, all of that, and how they're doing that. Especially for this year, to be honest. I think it stays the same, but Bobby Miller is the young guy I'm talking about. He's only 21, so I doubt we see him this year. However, a lot of the fan base is excited for him. He's fun to watch. He hit 96 in his first outing on Wednesday last week. He hasn't given up a hit in 2 innings of work. Walked one person in yesterday's outing, got the double play ball immediately afterwards. So he also looks like he's enjoying it out there. He looks like he's having fun. He looks like he's doing well from my side of things. I feel like he's doing well. I know you've been excited to watch him pitch every outing.
Yeah. So just a few things. He's had some inconsistencies in his mechanics. So like his front shoulder's opening up a little early, which is why his like fastball pitches tend to tail inside to the batter sometimes. Now Bauer and Josiah Gray had the same issues as well. But it's still early in spring, so he's still trying to find his groove with his mechanics, because they did have to change it coming out of Louisville. Also, he hasn't had really good command of his slider. They don't even resemble strikes right now, so like hitters aren't enticed to chase it. So that's another thing. But again, still early. Like you mentioned, the one thing he has done really well is working past all that, getting double plays to erase the walks. So you can see the potential there, but it's I mean, again, he hasn't given up any runs, but from my side of things, it's been a bit of a struggle.
That's fair. Yeah, he's not hitting his spots like he wants to. Maybe his stuff isn't breaking, but just from the general aspect, if you just look at it,
the slider's definitely breaking. It's just not.
Yeah, it's not. Well, yeah, he's just fun, I think, to watch. He's one of those players that it kind of reminds me a lot like Buehler, that sometimes you might not get everything on point that game, but he's still going to be fun to watch because you don't know exactly what you're going to get. So I think
you can see him kind of getting upset at himself for not hitting his spots.
Yeah.
You can see the frustration in his face.
Which isn't always something you see in a 21-year-old. At least not that noticeable. I feel like that part reminds me of Buehler too, though, because I feel like you could always see that from Buehler as well. But just someone that's fun to watch, keep an eye on. He has talked about a lot since he was the Dodgers' first-round draft pick in 2020. David Price, though, we must talk about him because he got his first outing in over a year, which is crazy to think about. Due to COVID, he did not play in the 2021 season. He only saw action for 1 inning, but pretty good for a guy who hasn't been in a game for a year. He struck out Luis Robert on an off-speed pitch in the dirt. That was very nice. He was only expecting to hit 92 mile per hour on the gun, but he said yesterday after his outing that he was already hitting 94. I'm sure some of that's him being amped up, nerves, getting in a game for the first time. But I was so happy to see him out there, and now the options with him about where he could end up in his role makes it even more interesting. But I hope we see him out there again soon, because that was a lot of fun to see yesterday and to kind of see his excitement after he was done pitching.
Yeah, I thought he did very well for the first time pitching in a little over a year.
Yeah, well, it was like March 7th, so it was like 366 days.
Yeah, so just over a year.
Over a year.
So like you mentioned, he hit 94 on the gun. He hasn't hit 94 on the gun consistently since like 2017. He's been pretty much 91, 92 from 2018 on. So I'm interested to see how the year off helped or hurt his arm. Price's sinker also averages about 91, 92. So it's going to be interesting to see the differential between those two pitchers. Now, hopefully he gets his four-seamer a little more up in the zone, because he threw one kind of over the middle to Tim Anderson, and Anderson swung over it, thankfully, and grounded out to third baseman. So if he gets that a little more up in the zone, and then the sinker obviously will be down in the zone, and it has some bite to it, which is nice to see. He did miss some spots, but again, as expected, he only his first outing in a year. He did throw that nice circle change to Luis Robert as well. So all in all, I thought he did pretty well yesterday.
Yeah, I was a big fan of watching him out there. What gets a little bit interesting with him is yesterday Roberts actually said that they now aren't entirely sure what his role is going to be, that there's potential he could come out of the bullpen, which I've actually been talking about for a while now, and have said how interesting of a guy that I think Price could be coming out of the bullpen. You've got this big lefty who has the stuff that it's a different thing seeing a guy like that come out of the bullpen, especially if you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know how many pitches or how many innings you're going to get from him, especially not pitching in 2020. Maybe we'll get more because he's dealt with injuries in the past, and maybe his arm will be ready to go. Who knows? But when the Dodgers were close to signing Trevor Bauer, he reached out to the team to let them know that he was willing to help in any role, even if that meant coming out of the bullpen. First of all, I just love that he doesn't even care. He just wants to know how he can help the team. I think that is huge, especially for a veteran guy, someone who's been to the World Series, won it before, Cy Young, everything that he's been a part of. He's coming to this team and saying, I just want to do what will help the team win. And I'm a big, big fan of that. It does start to open up some questions, though, what that could mean for the rotation, because if Price is no longer a lock, your only locks are going to be Kershaw, Buehler, Bauer. And then you have the likes of May, Gonsolin, Urias, possibly Jimmy Nelson, which we could talk about in a minute. But if you have May, Gonsolin, and Urias, if Price goes to the bullpen, I almost kind of feel I feel like Urias is a lock, even though they're not saying it. I still think I don't know what I do with May and Gonsolin. I'm interested in Jimmy Nelson after he looked pretty decent coming out of his first start. I don't really know where to go with all of this, but if Price comes out of the bullpen, That would be a nice little, it'd be nice because Alexander's not someone I think we can count on. He has not looked good at all. So Victor Gonzalez and David Price might be those lefty options that we're going to have to rely on.
So I think for Price, if he does come out of the bullpen, I would like to see the 5th spot go to May, just because I think Gonsolin would be really, really good out of the pen. So I saw quite a few people after that quote came out. I saw quite a few people saying that this is him not wanting to pitch or working less, or this is him saying he wants to be traded. I thought I was jaded, and I always saw like the bad in what people say, but my goodness, guys, I really need to stop looking at comments because people suck and it's very draining. I thought, to me, this was clearly him being selfless and willing to do whatever it takes to help the team win. I think players like that are very important and needed. So salute to David Price for being that teammate who's willing to fill any role to help. I think he's selfless. I mean, this is the same guy that paid for minor leaguers last year. Selfless. He's just a really good dude. So the comments were stupid, but him out of the pen does open up some things, because obviously he can still spot start, Gonsolin can still spot start, Jimmy Nelson can still spot start or opener, whatever the case may be. So it does open up the door for a lot of options. But if he is in the pen, I think May should get that 5th spot.
Yeah, I think that's probably the better option. I feel kind of bad for Gonsolin because I feel like he's done kind of what he needs to do to earn.
I mean, look, if the A's want a starter and they're willing to give up Matt Chapman,
we're not getting Matt Chapman.
We can make it work.
We need to just move on. I mean,
I'm
all for it, but God, if the A's wouldn't and give up Matt Chapman, I feel like they're just gonna they're gonna lose everything at that point. They're gonna lose all their fans. Nobody's gonna want anything to really do with them. So
before moving on, I just wanted to acknowledge a few people. So I thought Garen Clevenger looked really good his last time out. Victor Gonzalez has picked up where he left off last year in the playoffs. I also wanted to point out that thus far, DJ Peters' plate discipline has been like a complete 180 from what we're used to seeing. It's almost been like a Max Muncy level type of impressive. I think I've been most impressed with him over any hitter, to be completely honest, just because he's seeing a lot of pitches, taking a lot of pitches, drawing walks, and then when it's in the zone, he's smacking it. So he's been really, really good so far this spring.
Yeah, he has. His plate discipline has not, or I want to say, I guess it is getting the credit it deserves. I see people talking about it, and I think that's going to be the biggest thing for him. We've seen the athleticism and the defense from him last couple of years in spring. He obviously has the power and can hit the ball very hard and very far. So he's someone to definitely keep an eye on. I kind of see him as starting the season maybe on the taxi squad more so than anything else. I just don't know if the Dodgers are going to be ready for that. And which we'll talk about in a little bit, but with the AAA season being pushed back, it just seems very unfortunate for guys like DJ Peters, who could possibly work his way onto that roster, but will be losing out on some of that time. Another guy that could be right on the fringe of making the roster, and I would think is almost a lock on the taxi squad, is Dennis Santana. He's had a very strong spring so far, and Dave Roberts has acknowledged that, saying he's done everything he can to earn a spot in the bullpen. The team views this as an option to face right-handed batters and left-handed batters and could go as many as 3 innings. So far this spring, he's thrown 3 scoreless innings over 3 games with 3 strikeouts. And I don't know if there's a legitimate chance he has to open the season on the big league roster, but I feel like we've discussed how great he has been. So I kind of wonder, especially with this whole Joe Kelly thing, if maybe that opens up a spot for someone like Dennis Santana, especially when you don't know what you're going to be getting from your starters. If he can go 3 innings, someone like that out of the bullpen could be huge for the Dodgers.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. If Gonsolin or Nelson or Price are in the bullpen, I just don't think there's a need for Dennis Santana. Also, it's hard for me to say, be honest, because I mean, he's looked really good so far. There's no question about it. But he also looked extremely good last spring and summer camp because, I mean, he made the team. But when he got to the regular season, outside of his appearance against the Astros, he wasn't impressive at all. his command issues resurfaced. He's always had command issues. It's why he was moved to the pen in the first place. He's got the stuff, no question about it, but he struggles with consistency. So I don't know. It sounds like he's going to end up getting a shot from what Robert said. And we just have to hope if he does get a shot, he's consistent with his command. But it's one of those things, kind of like with Jansen. I saw him be really great during spring training last time, and then during the regular season, it wasn't what we saw earlier. So I don't know. It could have just been a weird year too, as well. So as long as he's consistent, then I think he should be fine. But still, finding a role in that bullpen is going to be tough.
Yeah, it could, especially like we just talked about. You have Jimmy Nelson, who I don't know if there really is a way to leave out. We don't know what's going on with guy. Well, I mean, I guess going into Dodger news, I didn't even mean to transition it like this, but we don't even know what's going on with Graterol. They say he's going to be ready to go for an inning on opening day, yet he hasn't even thrown off a mound yet. And it's March 9th. So I'm not concerned because they're saying there's nothing physically wrong with him, but I don't know. I mean, I also just don't know what are you going to do with Santana? How much longer are you going to like hold on to him? He's been up and down for a few years now. It's another one of those things that's like, hey, if we're going to get any value out of trading him, like is now going to maybe be the time to do that? Who knows? I told you, I've always thought not always thought, but I think he's an interesting trade chip. I think that he's someone who I just don't know if he's going to be on this team for very long. Because it seems like they keep bringing him up, sending him down, or he gets hurt, something along those lines. And then you mentioned command issues, but I mean, this bullpen is so good. It's going to be hard to force yourself into anywhere.
It's really tough because, I mean, so the bullpen was probably going to end up being Jansen, Knebel, and Victor Gonzalez are locks. We don't know what's going on with Graterol or anyone else. So where do the rest of the bullpen pieces start to fall in? Because Joe Kelly hasn't pitched, like you mentioned earlier. So there's definitely spots open. It's just going to be interesting to see how it fills out, because whoever doesn't make it out of the starters will probably end up being in the bullpen. So that's just two more added there. So trying to find a spot is going to be tough for Santana. It's going to be tough for Jimmy Nelson as well. But I thought Jimmy Nelson looked really good in his first spring training start, especially because he was coming off a back injury. He did give up an earned run, but that's because of Austin Barnes' error. So he threw like this beautiful power curve to strike out David Bodie, and then he got an ugly swing on a nasty slider to Nico Horner. So if he can continue to do that and carve up hitters, I think he's going to end up finding a spot in this on this team, either as like a long man, or he can probably be like a middle relief type guy. He also could be an opener if the Dodgers decided to go the Tampa Bay Rays route and do openers. I think he can do that too. He pitches tonight, so I am excited to see how he looks tonight, if he continues to build on what he did the first time, or if it's just going to be a bad outing. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Speaking of tonight, since I said I would say it if we got it, we did just get the lineup a couple minutes ago. So we've got Chris Taylor in center field, Muncy at first, Turner at third, Smith at catcher, Lux at second base, Pollock will be in left field, Beatty in right field, Rayleigh at DH, and Omar Estevez getting the start at short. So
Beatty and Pollock going back-to-back games.
I guess that sounds right. I don't know. Is that who started yesterday?
I feel like everybody's gotten back-to-back games except for one person, and I need for them to get in back-to-back games. But
who?
I'll save that for Lux.
Lux? Oh, yeah. They might be doing some of that, though, intentionally. Who knows? But I would expect to see him getting in there soon. Back-to-back games because, yeah, most of them are in there now. But, yeah, on to the Dodger news, like we mentioned. Graterol, nothing off the mound yet. Brandon Morrow, who knows what's going to happen with him. He hasn't pitched in a game since 2018, and it doesn't sound like that's changing anytime soon. Roberts already told reporters that Morrow will not pitch in a spring training game at any point, so that's already out of the question. He's currently on a throwing program, and the team's goal for him is to develop arm strength, throwing live BP and bullpens. So that's kind of a bummer, just because I think both of us were looking forward to hopefully seeing him pitch.
Yeah, but also this makes sense because, like you mentioned, he hasn't pitched in a game since 2018. So he kind of needs to build that arm strength. I kind of see him as almost like a trade deadline acquisition because I don't think he'll be up until then. So I think he's someone we should definitely be looking out for in AAA to see how he's coming along.
Yeah, that's going to be, the Dodgers are going to have a lot to work with that bullpen, which is a very good sign. This is, if there's a year, I mean, 2020 was the year to do it too, but if there's a year to have all that extra bullpen depth and starting pitching depth, I think it's this year. It's going to be so interesting to see what teams do with we know the phantom IL is going to come into play plenty to send pitchers all over, players all over, to get guys extra innings when someone may need a break. So I'm very curious to see how they go about all of that, with our pitching, because there is so much to work with. Great news. Kyber Ruiz is in Arizona on Saturday. Roberts told the media that he showed up to camp and was going through intake testing. So they are hoping to have him in a game by the end of the week. So us Dodger fans have something to look forward to. Cody Bellinger and Kyber Ruiz should be in games within the next week or so. I
actually saw Ruiz in the bullpen yesterday. I think he was just helping the pitchers get ready to come into the game, but it was still nice to see him.
Good. Get in that work, because if he's not going to play him, he's another guy that he's way more than Dennis Santana. If we are not going to play him, trade the man, get something for him, get his value up, do something, let him go mash in AAA, even if that's being delayed. But yeah, I'm happy Ruiz is back out there. We talked about it. He worked his ass off in the off season, so I'm glad he is there with the team getting in that work. Also, as we head into MLB news, we told you guys we would keep you updated on anything going along with fans allowed back in the stadium, and we finally got our answer. It sounds like the Dodgers are going to allow fans back beginning April 1st. Obviously, the Dodgers won't be there on April 1st, but they are expected to be at Dodger Stadium this season, with Newsom telling the public that the stadiums as well as other venues will open back up on April 1st. On how many fans can attend will depend on where LA County is at with their COVID numbers once the Dodgers start playing games at home, which would be April 9th against the Nationals. So just so you guys know, listen carefully. Google is your friend, though. Don't rely 100% on me, because numbers are hard, especially when it comes to stuff like this. But LA County is currently in the purple tier, which means as of now, they would only allow 100 fans at the game on opening day, and concession stands are not even allowed to be open. If they can get to the red tier, which they are hoping they will be able to do by April 1st, they would be able to open up capacity to 20%, which would be 11,200 fans. Criteria for the red tier would be 4 to 7 new daily cases per 100,000 people and a positivity rate between 5 and 8%. As of last week, we were already under the positivity rate at like 3.5%, and the new daily cases were at like 7.5. So we're so close to getting underneath that. So please wear your masks and stay safe so we can get back into Dodger Stadium. Colorado is getting their shit together, so they're opening up 42%. The Dodgers can get there as well if everybody just keeps doing what we got to do. If you want to get the vaccine when it's available. Wear your mask, stay safe. Let's all get back. If you want to see the Dodgers play on opening day and can afford it, the Rockies announced today that they will have, like I said, 42% capacity for opening day against the Dodgers, which is about 21,000 fans. So we're getting there. We are almost there.
This is it's exciting. I'll be going to Oakland for the second series of the season when the Dodgers play the A's. It's going to be nice to like see a baseball game in person for the first time since, I don't know, like mid 2019. And by that time, I will be fully vaccinated as well. So it's exciting times, definitely, to be like slowly finally starting to get back to like some normalcy. A friend of mine who's studying to be a doctor actually said that she says she's pretty sure that vaccines will be free for everyone. So if you haven't gotten it yet and you want them, then you should do that. The more people, the better, obviously. I know not everyone's a fan of them, and that's fine. It's completely your choice. But if you're good with them and you find a place that's doing them, you should definitely go check that out. there are workarounds to get them, whether you're going with your elderly parents or grandparents. You'll be able to do that there. And also saying that you're an educator will get you the vaccine sooner. So those are just some tips just in case you guys are interested in doing that.
Yeah. I think some places are even offering, like, if you go work at a vaccine for 4 hours, they can't guarantee, but if there are any left over, they're offering to give it to you. They're basically at a place that they're throwing away vaccines because enough people aren't showing up. So I've heard a lot of people say it. If you have the chance to get it, go get it, because everybody needs to be vaccinated. The more people that get the vaccine, the better. So obviously, if you have your older relatives, help them get there, do what you can. Sometimes they're willing to give an extra dose. Again, if you don't want to get it, that's completely your choice. But if you want to get it, find your way to get it, get your vaccine, and get vaccinated, because we're getting close. And God, I cannot wait to be back at Dodger Stadium with a ton of fans. I don't know how I feel about a stadium with 11,000. Don't get me wrong. If I could go, I would. But like, I'm waiting for that day that it's just completely packed and it's loud again and it's a good time. And I think based on everything the experts are saying, there's a very, very good chance full capacity could happen by the playoffs. So that's what I need more than anything. So please wear your masks, wash your hands, stay safe, get the vaccine if you can. And yeah,
I mean, there's limited fans at spring training now, and it's still pretty loud. If there was a way that I can just keep the fans on and turn the announcers off, that would be great. Because I'm sorry, Dodger fans, the announcers that are not Joe and Oral are terrible.
Yeah.
MLB TV needs to bring back park mode.
Oh, we could just listen to the.
Yeah, it's literally just park audio. They didn't have it last year, which sucks. And like for
that would have been great, because you would have just been hearing F-bombs dropped all last year had they done that. That's probably exactly why they didn't do it. They're like, we don't.
I hope that's why they did it and they bring it back, because I really enjoyed park mode, watching random teams with bad announcers.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems like a good time.
I will take park mode, please.
Yeah.
And no disrespect to Rick Monday and Jim Neverett.
The difference is
whatever his name is.
Tim Neverett. The difference is they're radio people. They're not TV people. So they're used to calling on the radio. It's a different kind of thing. I think
they're when also simulcasting a lot of these games.
Yeah,
too, right?
They're simulcasting, so it's kind of a pain in the ass. They have to make it like they can't. Like the difference is usually you have Joe and Oral who can focus just on their TV audience, and so they can like kind of be a little bit more have fun. Don't have to explain every play. But if they're doing simulcast, which sucks,
I get they have to
they
go
make
in
it a
depth,
pain in the
but
ass.
I mean. Even when they try to be funny and make jokes, I'm just like, bro, that shit was terrible.
I think most announcers are terrible, if we're being 100%. I can't stand listening to most announcers. I have to listen. Like I listen to the Red Sox. Oh God, it's fucking awful. I hate it. Joe and Oral, I think we are so spoiled. We've come from Vin Scully to Joe. And so I just think our fan base, we've been extremely lucky. And yeah, I'm bummed, because usually we get Joe and Oral on the weekends, and that has not happened this year except for like 2 games. So I'm hoping
think I remember
that
one
changes.
of them saying, one of Neverett or Monday saying that they're supposed to be back for, I don't know if it's today or tomorrow.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, because I know Joe has his other contracts.
But only for a few games.
It's fine. Better than nothing. Back to the news, just so we can finish this up. As I mentioned earlier, AAA season is unfortunately getting pushed back another month or so. So that means alternate sites will be returning again in 2021. The Dodgers will use Rancho Cucamonga and Camelback Ranch to keep their younger players in shape until season begins. So that's
2 separate places.
Really sucks, because guys, like we said, DJ Peters, guys that are close, maybe even someone like Zach
He'll be on the taxi squad.
Yeah, most likely. But it would have been nicer if guys, instead of spending the taxi squad, not getting any actual at-bats, were in AAA taking these at-bats, and then we could just like, hey, fly them somewhere. So this is not great for development. It sucks for the players. Hopefully it does not get pushed back. They're saying they're doing it for the health, which is, if that's the case, great. I don't believe them. I think MLB is, like usual, always doing it for the money. They don't want to spend the money. So if they push it back, they don't have to do as much of that. So yeah, outside of that, the only thing else that really happened is Jackie Bradley Jr. signed with the Brewers, signed a 2-year deal there. And then Jake Odorizzi signed with the Astros. So other than that, I kind of feel like there's still quite a few free agents out there who haven't been signed. So maybe we'll hear some stuff. I know that there's some people who think the Dodgers could be making a move themselves, like a trade, just because of how much depth that they had. Just because of how many guys they have, necessarily not. Because I don't know what they're going to do. It sounds like it's because of the roster, not because there's anything necessarily much needed. So we'll see what happens. Who knows? Our team's pretty damn good. So that's really all I'm focused on right now, and enjoying these games until we can have some real games. So that was all I had for today. Did you have anything else?
No, not really. Sonny Gray's pitching for the Reds today, right? So it'll be nice to see them face actual major league pitching.
A decent,
I don't know if it's the first time, but at least a really decent.
Pretty decent pitcher. I was bummed we missed Giolito for the White Sox. He pitched on Sunday. That would have been awesome to see the Dodgers go against him yesterday. But
the White Sox offense yesterday was disgusting.
Yeah, that was not great. Julio handled them. Julio had no issue, which was fantastic, because I was like, if there's any team that's going to destroy Julio in the first inning, like, this is not the team you want it to happen to, because that White Sox lineup could have eaten him alive. And he was through like 2 innings on like 12 pitches. So
yeah,
if
he looked good. He got weak contact. Yeah, a lot better than his first outing. Yeah,
much better. So that was nice to see. But other than that, as always, we do appreciate you guys listening. Make sure to give us a follow at Dodger Yard. Check out our website, dodgeryard.com. We are now doing weekly updates. As of now, we've only got a handful of players, but we will be adding more as the season goes along. Make sure to enter our Kershaw Art Contest. That actually closes on Friday, and then voting begins. So I've talked about that a little bit last week, and just upload your favorite piece of artwork that you have done. It must be an original piece by yourself, or you can have someone else enter. If you have a kid, they can enter all of that at dodgeryard.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I think that's all of them. Facebook. And then you can find me at Randy_Radcliffe on Twitter and Instagram.
You can go to allmylinks.com/Konu, KONU, and find my social medias there.
And other than that, we appreciate you guys tuning in, listening, and hope you have a good rest of your morning, night, afternoon, weekend, whenever it is you listen to this. And we will catch you guys next week. Bye, guys.
See you later, guys.